I'm Scott Holmes.
I'm Matt Metzger, and you're listening to Ground Etc. This season, we're going to be talking all things infield grooming, from routine maintenance to leading a groundskeeping team to full serious renovation work. We talk to experts in the industry on the field, about the ground, about the work,
etc.
etc.
Yeah. You know, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it applies to almost anything in life.
It's terrifying.
It is really terrifying. And if you really take a look at any aspect of your life, 80-20 really works. 80% of the people do 20% of the work, or 20% of the people do 80% of the work. 20% of your budget's put towards, 80-20 just kind of works in most.
That's going to put me into an esoteric crisis.
I know. You're going to have to think a lot about this. But here's my point. My point is that when it comes to sports turf fields, 80% are not the major league. They're not the minor league. They're not the collegiate.
Yeah.
It's the high school, the junior high, the little league, the softball fields, the church fields. Yeah. That's 80% of our customers.
Yeah, think about how many fields I drive by on the way to work. Yeah. And I don't drive by any major league or minor league fields.
No, you drive by the municipalities. You drive by the little leagues. You drive by the...
It's probably at least a dozen. Yeah. And I'm only 3 miles away from the shop. And it's at least a dozen fields I drive by.
So we had a guest come in, Coquillard.
Yeah.
He's young, but he's spent a lot of time in the industry.
Well, to you, everyone's young, Scott.
Well, this is true. I got kids that are in their mid-30s, so yes,
get it.
Anybody's young for me. But a lot of experience, but really has spent a lot of time with the 80% of the fields.
Yeah.
The lower, not lower level as in importance, but lower level as in budgets maybe.
Yeah.
Size, complex size. And he's given us a lot of great insight into how to work those, how to maintain those, how to really work within that budget that the 80% of our customers deal with.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important. It's what actually Chuck White mentioned a couple of shows ago, that when you have a limited budget, when you have a limited staff, if it's maybe just up to you to figure it out, it takes a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes so much work to take care of the upper echelon of fields. Yeah. No doubt there. Full crews, big budgets, because you've got high dollar play happening. Yeah. But if you don't have lots of people and you don't have lots of tools, you just got to figure it out. And there's a different level of ingenuity required when you're working on those fields.
No doubt. I mean, you can't expect that a local municipality is going to have the budget of a college.
Sure.
It's not going to happen. You're not going to have that kind of money.
Well, and there's no less passion, though. I mean, I'm thinking about, my head.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm just saying.
If you've ever been to a little league game, there's a whole lot of passion.
That's usually behind the fence, with the parents and
the kids may just be chilling.
The fist fights that are going on. Lots of passion.
Man. But really, though, I mean, every parent wants good for their kid.
Absolutely.
Right? Every parent wants their kid to have a great experience and a great level of play and to know that their kid's going to be safe on the field.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember my son played Little League for the first time, started out a couple years ago, and I know the volunteer crew did a heck of a job that summer. I know they were there constantly trying to take great care of the fields, but still, if there's a bit of a rain, my son had to run around a puddle between second and third base, right? It's just going to happen no matter how many man hours you've got. It takes more work. There's a lot of fields there to take care of.
But a lot of those issues can be dealt with the proper knowledge.
Yeah.
And even proper equipment. It doesn't have to be the force.
Right.
I mean, just good equipment and good knowledge on how to maintain a smaller complex.
Yep.
That solves a lot of problems right there.
Which is exactly why we're having, we had Taylor on, and we are picking his brain on how to, just a couple of tips, a couple of maintenance, a couple of grooming steps that someone can do no matter what equipment they have to take great care of smaller fields on a tighter budget.
Yeah, because we don't want to forget about the 80%.
That's right.
I mean, they're just as important as the major leagues.
That's right.
So we're going to deal with those topics.
Hey, so we have got Taylor with us today. Taylor Coquillard. Taylor is a baseball nut. Played baseball growing up as a kid. Then got a scholarship into play college ball. You have coached a little league. You have been an assistant varsity coach on the high school level. You have helped out with the Louisville Bats in tournament situations. You've helped out Chuck White in USA softball tournament situations. And you've been hanging around ABI and Sports Turf and the ABI Force for around 8 years now. Taylor, we're gonna pick your brain for hours at this point. This podcast is this episode is gonna be the longest one.
He's gonna be hoarse by the time we're done.
I know, right?
I hope so. Let's go.
Hey, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Coquillard. You and I know each other from a long time ago, and
it has been.
I bet that most ABI employees don't even know that we go back 30 years, as long as you've been alive.
Absolutely.
Are you 30 years old?
Yeah, I've known his family.
Wow.
He's 31. Do you know how old that makes me? Since I knew him when he was a little baby. So Taylor, we are thrilled to have you here, and glad to pick your brain. And I've watched you grow up. I've watched the experiences that you've had, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's been fun.
We've been through quite a bit.
We have been through quite a bit together. We have a lot of different things. So let's start by talking about your experiences in field management and playing. Just kind of give us your story, your history. I mean, we got an overview here.
Yeah, where'd you get started? Give us, since he's known you since you were a baby. Give us.
Yeah.
when did you first put your hands in the rake, Taylor?
Yeah.
And I'll give you that story. I gave a lot of props to my father. My dad worked for a compost farm in Niles, Michigan, growing up.
No kidding.
So the man was really good with rakes, mixing chicken manure with dirt and making compost.
Yeah.
So he, obviously, from a young age, I was working in dirt, playing in dirt, the Tonka trucks, right? Always in sand. The big move towards the baseball side of things was, I'm trying to think of how old I was, probably 8 or 9. I played Little League at Edwardsburg Little League in Michigan, and my dad and I would go and prep the fields before work.
No kidding.
So my dad would drive me up at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
We'd rebuild a mound under the headlights.
No kidding.
And then he'd have to leave. So then I would finish striping the fields, getting the batter's box all prepped.
You're just out there by yourself as a kid.
At what age?
By myself, probably 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
I promise. Yeah. And then he'd leave and take off to work because he had to work his 8 to 5. And then my mom would come pick me up 8:30, 9 o'clock after he'd leave. So I have the last half an hour to get everything striped up and ready for the game that day.
I can see little Taylor in the dark, with just the fog coming up and just a little 8-year-old lining the fields.
Got to get that on camera. This footage right there.
It was incredible. Such an incredible experience. And little did I know that it would lead to now working with ABI and talking about dirt and doing what we do well in dirt.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, we talk about dirt. We built an entire business around dirt.
Amen.
But it is just so critical.
It really is.
So did anybody else on your team, like playing Little League, 8 years old, anybody else out there, like, were you with other kids that were also working the field? Like, did anybody else like get that? Or was that something that was just kind of unique to you?
I can't recall that anyone else was like, hey, I'll meet you out there. Like, let's do this together. I feel like a lot of it was my dad and I, and that's what I think of. I guess my little brother would have been somewhat involved. But again, my dad was coaching as well. Yeah. So it was kind of just a given that, hey, before the game, before we play today, let's get it as nice as we can.
And I have a question for you. When I was 8 and I was told to do things by my father, it wasn't always something I wanted to do.
Understand that.
Did you enjoy this? Is this something that you looked forward to? That was it father bonding time for you? Was it I just love the feel of the dirt under my feet? I mean, was there Chuck and we talk about passion, and at 8 years old, you're either doing it because you're afraid of getting disciplined because you won't, or you love it.
It wasn't a feeling of hatred or disciplinary. Yeah. It was pure enjoyment, I'd say at that point, and pride in how I played. The field is so important when you think about playing the game, and I don't think many people think about it that way. But when your cleats are in the ground and your glove is on, and that ground ball is coming to you, you better hope that you took care of that field before, because then you can expect what's coming. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and I know so you've coached Little League, you've coached the high school level as well, and I'm sure it'd be difficult to help. I've got a 5-year-old. Trying to help my 5-year-old understand like how the dirt matters to his play, right? It might be a little much, but you get to the high school level. Is in your experience working with high schoolers and players and helping them be their best, do you think that there's a general understanding among high school players of the importance of the ground that they're playing on?
I would say, based on my experience coaching in the last year, I would say no. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think the focus is just spun a little bit. I think there's a great opportunity for coaches to teach their athletes how important their surface is. Yeah. And I think that the better the surface, not only the better the athletes play, but the more the athletes remember and think about, man, I got to go play on that field, and that's a pretty one. I remember playing in Little League. We got to play down at Warsaw. And it was the first field that had lights. And like playing under the lights was a huge thing for us. Sure. Like different start times, right? We're used to playing that 4:30, 5 o'clock game, right? Your dad barely makes it because he's got to finish his job. And then, mom's lugging all your gear everywhere with you. But that 7 o'clock start, and it's dark and the lights are, the superstars come out with the lights are on.
Right, yeah.
There was also one.
The level of play, or at least the level in your mind, just went way up. I am a superstar.
You think you're a stud, no matter what age. And I think that's probably the biggest impression of a ball field is like when it's top notch, you remember.
Yeah. So as a player, then, as you think about all the different fields that you've played on, like you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference in the quality of play.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The one I didn't get to play on my senior year because of, I think it was a rain event, ironically, but was the Four Winds Field used to be a synthetic field.
Yeah. Right.
And so we were supposed to, Edwardsburg was supposed to face Jimtown. And for some reason, I don't know if it was inclement weather, but we weren't able to play. And that was one that always kind of stung because I was excited to try out
a minor league field.
Synthetic.
Exactly. And it's a big league field, right?
Right.
You feel like you're one of the big leaguers.
Yeah.
So that, again, but that memory still sticks with me, even though I never got to play there.
Right.
So I still tell that story, and it's like,
yeah. Well, it's my partner and I have talked about our equipment, through the years, obviously about designing it, and he comes from the blue collar world where it's hands on. I mean, he ran a seeding company for 30 years before we started ABI, and he talks about helping the employee enjoy their work. Right.
Absolutely.
If you create equipment that helps them enjoy what they do, they will do a better job. I think it applies to sports as well. Absolutely. If you give an athlete a better field, they will enjoy it more.
Amen.
Right?
Absolutely. And again, it will remember it.
It'll
stick with them.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about how, like, in your experience, whether or not high school players recognize the importance of maintaining the ground that they're on. They can tell the difference between the fields, but making that jump over to like, actually spending time and investing in the details of the field. What about coaches? And again, like your experience here at ABI and playing and coaching before you came to ABI, talk to us about the awareness that coaches have at all levels, whether it's little league coach or organized ball, school ball, up to club ball. Do you think that the coaches have a tie into the quality of field, the quality of dirt, the quality of maintenance, into the quality of play?
Absolutely. Being the high school varsity coach and walking in with two other coaches that have never done field work before, I was immediately the field work coach, right? So like after the games, you're dragging the fields, making sure it's, everything's raked, pulling the bases, that type of thing. I think they're, go with me here. I always think there's room for more.
There was?
Sense.
Well, you've been doing it since you're 8.
Right. I just think that the coaches could always, should take pride in teaching the children and their athletes how important that actually is.
Yeah.
I think it's just undershadowed a little bit.
Well, you're teaching them how to pick up a ground ball. You're teaching them how to bat. You're teaching them how to pitch. You're teaching them how to be teammates.
Yeah.
Right.
Why not teach them the importance of the ground?
Well, and Tim and I were talking before too. I mean, you've got at younger and younger ages, you've got student athletes who are encouraged to go to the gym, encouraged to participate in strength and conditioning training, and encouraged to head to the performance facilities in the off season to make sure that their batting and their pitching is up to snuff and their fielding is up to snuff. And so, in all of these different, in all the different ways, the coaches are encouraging the players to up their performance. But then is that same level of attentiveness being put to the ground that really does pay such a big impact into the performance once the game is being played?
Absolutely. The regimen, you mentioned the regimen. It's like it's bigger and better nowadays, right? And there's more expectations, higher expectations. And I really believe that if you don't have the equipment, if you don't have the right breaks, if you don't have the right mentality, if you're not practicing this, it can easily get washed away.
Yeah.
And all the other activities that you must do, and you're trying to be the better athlete and be the stronger athlete. So I believe that there could be more attention to it, at least in our area. I should say that.
So,
so
as an athlete then, and as a coach and as an advocate for the game and as a groundskeeper, right? You kind of fall into all those categories. You've played all those roles at different times. If we've got players who are listening right now, whether it's rec players, adult rec players, whether it's student athletes, if there's any word of encouragement, like the number one reason why as a player you should take time to learn the ground and learn ground maintenance and be a part of maintaining the field, what's like the number one reason you'd give players to take a vested interest in that?
Their play and moving on to the next level. You can only play as well as your field plays.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
And so if you take the time and learn, it's out there too. Podcasts and books and just watching people and experience. If you take the time to learn and then you apply that to your position, even if you're raking your own position, at least you have like a peace of mind when you get that ground ball, when you get that, the last out of the game and bases are loaded and you're down, you're up 1 and trying to preserve that game, at least your field, your position is taken care of.
Yeah.
I think there's, again, pitchers doing the mounds. That was one thing in high school we always had to do. We'd finish the game, we'd go out to right field, have a conversation with the coach. So everyone's on a knee, right? You come back in, coach goes to the dugout, talking to his other coaches. The athletes go to the field, and we're raking the lips.
Yeah.
We're taking the brooms and brooming the conditioner and the dirt out of the lips.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're grabbing the drag mats, and at that point it was a Cub Cadet tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're doing spinning out the infield.
Yeah.
And then the pitchers are rebuilding the mound with the clay, and the catchers are rebuilding the home plate and their catcher's box with the clay. So that was just how we learned. You didn't sit back and watch the coach do it.
Right.
You got out and you learned it yourself.
But I mean, certainly you saw organizations or little leagues or high schools that didn't operate like that.
Absolutely.
Where parents did it, or the players just walked off the field and they were done. And so it's not everybody's experience, but it should be, is what I'm hearing you say.
I firmly believe it. And I think one of the big issues now is finding volunteers that want to help.
Yeah.
So just getting people on the field to want to help. And
well, I think that would be partly education. I mean, when we did our introduction, we talked about the 80-20 rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 20% of the people who are our clients are collegiate, minor league, and professional Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But the 80%, the mass majority, are churches, little leagues, softball complexes, high schools, junior highs. There may be an educational gap there. I mean, certainly the minor league and MLB groundskeepers, they know the importance of dirt, and not just dirt, but the outfield too. The warning track, for goodness sakes, right? The warning track can make or break a major league game with a ground rule double.
Absolutely.
Right? But at the 80% and under, that knowledge of how important that is may not be there. So how do we educate the 80%?
I honestly think the ABI Force is a huge advocate for exposing groundwork.
Yeah.
Because it looks cool.
I wasn't trying to lead you there, but thank you.
But realistically, it's the truth. It's a cool looking machine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm growing up with a Cub Cadet tractor and a drag mat behind, and we made a homemade nail drag for Edwardsburg Little League, painted orange and blue, and my brother and I had our initials on it. So it was something that we took pride in. But as you get older, the fields they're different. They get better.
If you got players, if you got student athletes or coaches of the municipalities or the small clubs or the schools that may not have as much funding, may not have as much training into it, they're listening right now. Like, all right, I'm in, man. You sold me. Like, I want to take great care of my field. I want to help my students and my athletes take care of the field. Where do I start? What are some of the most important fundamentals that I might be missing out on?
I want to point to a program. Beacon Athletics does Groundskeeper U.
Okay.
And it's a free program that's online based. You can do it from your tablet, from your iPhone, from your computer.
Yeah.
And you can go through and learn some of the basics.
Right on.
That's good.
Working on the mounds and working home plates and actually dimensions of the field and what lips should look like and lip maintenance and renovation work. So something like there's a bunch of keys out there and tools out there that you could use to learn a little bit.
Yeah.
And it starts internally, right? You gotta have the want to learn.
Yeah.
But I think coaches can work it into the regimen, especially if the knowledge is already out there.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about baseball is we pass things along. Like it's a game. It's rich in our history.
Yeah.
So there's things that are passed along, and it's out there. You just gotta want to find it. I believe if coaches take the time to learn it themselves and then implement it into their training regimen, the workouts, the weight room, and add like a field maintenance
just
aspect
see it as
to
part of the training, part of the conditioning, part of the performance. So let's take the next step then. Let's say that I'm a coach at a small club or at a facility that I've got either a board of directors or I've got an athletic director ahead of me. That my schedule's packed, man. Like I'm here early. I'm helping the students with strength conditioning, and maybe I've got a teaching schedule that day. I've got practices all evening. I'm working with parents. I'm solving problems, putting out fires. Right? How can I convince my AD? How can I convince the people who are responsible for my schedule? How can I convince them to give me a gap so I can participate in some of this training? What's the value there? If I go to my AD and I say, hey man, can we cut this out so I've got 30 extra minutes to do this thing because it's this important? What's the pitch? What am I pitching the AD to say this is how important this is?
I believe athlete safety is number one.
Yeah.
I've got a good story about that too that we'll probably cover here in a minute.
Oh, give it to us. Give it to us now.
So I play softball regularly. I'm a 2-night-a-weeker. I would say competitive for the area.
I played with you. You're very competitive.
I am very competitive. the league itself.
I'm not allowed to play with you because you're competitive. Let's put it that way. Matt didn't get invited to that team.
Well, I apologize.
No, you don't.
You've watched. You came and watched.
I watch. I'll support.
We play at a high level.
Oh yeah,
I know you do.
And it's something I take pride in. I practice, right? Because I want to be better.
Yeah.
But I play 2 nights a week, and this is my first year. Actually, 2022 was my first year not playing in 5 years, and it was because I tore my ACL.
Ugh.
How did that happen, T?
I still have flashbacks to this, and it wakes me up in the middle of the night sometimes. But I was playing on we play out of South Bend, but sometimes they'll send us off to auxiliary fields due to either overbooking or tournaments that come in. So they sent us to one of their auxiliary fields, and it's one that just isn't maintained very well. Mm-hmm. And so the fundamental things, the base pegs were loose. So where the base is seated it was loose.
Yeah.
And so the base, there's wiggle to it. So I'll say this too, because you'll appreciate it. I had a double.
Okay.
Gapped a double.
Yeah, nice.
I'm on second.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Attaboy.
And the guy behind me hit a line drive to the second baseman. I let off second like I was heading for third, realized he caught it, went back to the bag. As I'm outstretching back for the bag, the base is loose. I hit the bag and my knee explodes.
Caves in.
Yeah. ACL, MCL.
Because the bag moved, so your knee went down.
I thought I was on something firm, and when it gave, my knee blew out.
Yeah.
So I'm 5 months post-op, walking around, grace of God. I mean, it's been a heck of a recovery. But again, the little details.
Yeah.
That base was loose.
If that would have been locked in, you could have probably avoided a major injury.
Yeah.
A very expensive injury, too.
Yeah, right.
So,
not only that, I saw you when you walked in. I mean, you were depressed. I mean, and rightfully so. It's
absolutely.
Like, holy crap! My whole year of softball's gone. I can't
golf.
Can't golf. I know because you're a big golfer too.
Oh man, it's just I lost the whole season, and that was detrimental. I mean, and mental health and all that stuff comes in, and it's
so
real.
Safety of the game, and ABI's pitched that. Absolutely. I mean, even when we were designing and learning from other people, we knew that safety was the fundamental thing for sure.
So then what are some heads up? So as a coach then, I know we keep bouncing back and forth to you as a player, you as a coach, you as an advocate, right? So as a coach, if you step onto, and think back to your, the varsity season last year, you step onto a field that you're looking like, man, I don't like this field's it's not up to our par when it comes to how we like to keep our field. Do you give your students, your student athletes any advice, your players any advice? And hey guys, you got to watch for this, got to watch for that. Like, what are you looking for as a coach when you're stepping onto a field for the first time in order to help your players stay safe?
I think there's one thing that all the coaches did when we initially got to the stadiums or the fields we played at, and we all walk out together and kind of check out the playing conditions. Because you want to be able to tell the kids, hey, it's a little soupy around second.
You're walking the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it's mostly the infield dirt. The outfield will experience a little bit more once we're playing catch and warming up. Yeah. So you'll find the molehills, or you'll find the random holes, or the sprinkler that's not sat all the way down on the ground. So there's definitely like a discovery when you go out there, because again, each field plays different.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. My question is just experience. So every field is different. We know that, right? Mm-hmm. It's really funny. You're flying across the country from a 30,000 foot view, and all baseball fields look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Ideally, yeah.
No, they do.
Right.
But when you get down the ground, they're all completely different.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing. Have you ever come across in a competitive experience where you were supposed to play a game where you walked out in the field and you said, "Man, we just can't do this. My kids are going to get hurt."
To be completely frank with you,
yeah,
there's a couple local fields that are that way.
Oh wow.
It's truth. It's truth. And I don't know if it's based on the original construction that are just failing or just the lack of maintenance over time.
Yeah.
But yes, there's been a few that it's like, I don't know if I really want to send my kids out to play on this.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back to education too, right? Like I've heard you say that there's like a big difference between a lot of times at a lot of, whether it's local facilities or club ball or local schools, that sometimes the people who are responsible for caring for the fields are also the people who are responsible for landscaping and mowing and lawns and just general facility maintenance. And they've got a full plate. Like that's a full-time job to take care of lawns and facilities, but then to throw on a very specialized kind of maintenance for infield, that's a lot to put on someone if there's no official training for that.
Absolutely. And I believe it takes equipment to do that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We try to probably rob more equipment from other facilities and other uses around our facility
Yeah.
to try to do the work that the baseball field that they think the baseball field needs.
Yeah.
When really there's a pull to some specialized equipment that can do that and keep them efficient and not take them too much out of their realm as far as the landscaping versus the ball field maintenance.
Yeah.
Right on.
But that's the thing too, when you're bringing in guys that are great at mowing and facility maintenance, ball field maintenance is different.
It is, it's funny. I won't mention the name of the school because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But we have a local school that we've kind of sponsored and we've donated before. So we've donated, and I think they've had forces now. You know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They've had forces now for 6 years,
Probably,
7 years,
yeah.
something like that, right?
And the original, I believe.
The original.
Right?
I think they had the
Z18.
Z18. Yeah. Every time we go over there, they're not using it right. They're not maintaining the field right. It is not as simple as raking out the cleat marks.
Amen.
It's just not. It's not that
There's
easy.
more to learn.
There is so much more depth there. And even when they have the right equipment, if they don't have the right knowledge, they can't do it. And if they have the right knowledge but not the right equipment, they can't do it.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a combination.
Well, and that goes into, we've already talked about advocating for more knowledge, right? Encouraging the players to educate themselves, encouraging the coaches to see this as a safety issue, see it as a playability issue, encouraging even like board directors and athletic directors to make time for understanding the field for anybody involved in the field work, whether that's a facility team, a maintenance team, or a sports team. So we've talked about the education aspect, but talk about, Scott, what you just said, the equipment. What if it comes down to you've got players and coaches and support staff that are eager to learn, they're eager to know the stuff, but it's just so time consuming because they don't have the right equipment. What do you recommend for players, volunteer coaches, staff coaches on whatever layer of play? What are some talking points you can give those listeners right now to say, hey, like here's some pitch points to the people with the purse strings to say, hey, this is going to be a big deal. This is going to have a huge ROI, and this is going to be great for us if we can free up some funds to get a budget for some equipment. Absolutely.
I think the athletic director in the high school setting is a very pivotal person in this equipment purchasing. At that point, most of their influence is coming from the coaches, and that's boys and girls both.
Yeah.
So I believe that the athletic director really needs to be excited about field maintenance and have a little bit of understanding about it. I just, again, from experience, it might not be the top thing on the budget. Everyone needs new baseballs every year. Everyone needs new pitching nets. But again, your athletes can only be as good as their fields play.
Yeah.
So at that point, there's ways to allocate budgeting and being able to, even buy base equipment and then add on over years to initially just get the benefit of a better piece of equipment. I think there's plenty of ways to work around that. Again, I'm not the AD sitting in the chair that's pitching the school board, right? But something that to be said again about athlete safety, that should be very high on the list, and that's almost the pitch there is hey, our fields are not necessarily inadequate, but just not up to par, not up to snuff. And there's ways that we can make that better.
Yeah. So help me move my budget around. Let's say in your experience, again, as advocate, working with coaches, working with ADs on making strategic purchases to help the players improve their performance. What, in your opinion, are a couple of things that are common overspends that if a coach were to say, man, here's my budget, or an AD says, here's my budget, and it's like a challenge to you, like, all right, T, like find it in the budget. What are some things that you're like, hey, typically people spend a lot on these one or two things. They could probably shrink that for a year or two to free up some funds for a piece of groundwork equipment.
I believe like the big hitting nets, there's big hitting domes that you put over home plate, typically for BP. Yeah. So things that you're spending money on that aren't actually involved in the game, that's a pregame type of thing. There's no big overnet dome, when you're playing a game, right? Everything's open. So
Got it.
And dugouts. I mean, there's a lot of money spent on making sure that the players have a nice landing place when they come in from the field.
Almost like comfort experiences or luxury experiences of like, oh, we want to make it look nice or feel nice, but does it actually affect the safety and performance of the game?
Absolutely. And
interesting. That's a great way to think about it.
All the kids want new cleats. All the kids want new bats.
Yeah.
All the kids want new helmets.
Yeah.
There's exciting things that come with that, right?
Sure. It's flashy.
Man, but if
do they want new crutches?
They don't want new crutches, right? Ooh, that's powerful.
He gets one in every now and then.
Every now and then.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I've fallen into that too, right? You want to get the new. But again, if you don't have the structure, the foundation.
Yeah.
Well, and that stuff working with the players too, because my kids don't like eating their veggies. They want dessert, right? But like if the veggies is the ground, like, no, this is going to make you healthy. This is going to make you strong. This is going to be good for you. Then allocating time, energy, budget for those things. And the chocolate chip cookies can wait. Like, let's get this in first.
I'm going to throw a story in there. It's not baseball, but it is coaching. I was a collegiate university coach, but it wasn't for baseball. It's for women's lacrosse, right? So we dealt with field. We dealt with turf, synthetic fields, natural fields. And as a coach, I hear you. The AD really is. They're the ones that go to the board, the president,
absolutely,
or to the principal or wherever they're getting their funding from, right? But as a coach, I had a horrible field. I had a player tear tendons in her ankle. I had a player blow her knee out because of holes in the field, right? Just a lack of maintenance. But I had to fight. And I guess I would encourage coaches to fight for your players. Mm-hmm. Fight for their safety because, you may have the knowledge. Your players may have the knowledge. The parents may have the knowledge, but the AD may not. The board may not. And you may have to just say, yes, we are doing this. And you may have to be a pest. You may have to go in 8 times in a quarter and say, I've got to have this.
Fight for your kids.
Fight for your kids.
Yeah.
Fight for their safety because typically you'll get blown off. In most cases,
they're spreading budgets between multiple programs.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I understand it. I've been at the university level. I get it.
Just be the squeaky wheel.
Be the squeaky wheel.
Amen.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And the coach has a lot of power when it comes to that because they're feeding the AD all the information, right? Yeah. All the game experiences and these certain instances that might have come up because of the playing surface. So you've really, like you said, you got to be the squeaky wheel. Yeah. You got to be the squeaky wheel.
But even, I know I was talking collegiate because that was my experience, but even at the Little League, be the squeaky wheel. Force that board to do a fundraiser. Whatever it takes, fight for your kids.
And
fight for your players.
If there's parents out there that have the ability to donate, right? If you see value in it, do it. Go for it.
Yeah.
And if you've got the knowledge, share it with somebody else, right?
Yeah,
Talk about it.
Right.
Once it's talked about and that energy keeps moving that direction, things can happen.
Yeah. And I know we talk a lot about the force, but it doesn't have to be a force. Right. ABI's got a full line, and other companies have products that are capable. I'm not saying we're the only one. Just find what fits your organization and fight for the safety of your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Taylor, this has been fantastic. You've given us some great tidbits of knowledge here on players taking more ownership in the field and talking about ways to get educated and some of your own personal stories. You've had a heck of a year this past year, coaching varsity ball and then blowing out your knee. That's been rough. Talk about 2023. What are you looking forward to this year? What are you looking forward to doing? What do you got going on?
I think I'm back this year. So I chose to do the surgery. I chose to do the surgery because my goal was to continue to play.
Yeah.
So I'm still working out some of the cobwebs and things that have, built up over time, the atrophy. But my goal is to be back on the field.
That's awesome.
I think that's where I'm most passionate and I can play the game at a high level, and I'm excited to get back to it. I'm also ready to play some golf. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I guess mainly just be outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Enjoy the weather.
I can imagine being, by the way, don't use the word atrophy around guys our age.
Don't group me into your age.
You want to talk about atrophy?
I'm sitting down for 3 months. Things don't move the way they did before.
Yeah. So if you
it's real.
If you work with Taylor on finding the right equipment for your fields, and you're calling on a Sunday or Tuesday night, just know he's probably going to be in the field. He's not going to be answering his phone. You might have to leave a voicemail on those evenings.
I'll call you back. The text always works too. Give me a little brief summary, and I'll get back with you.
This is case study work. That's what it is. He's making sure that he can speak knowledgeably to what you need in the field.
On the ABI side of things, we're going to some trade shows this year. We're expanding into the golf market and into the landscape market.
Yeah.
Nice. So I've got to do some learning. I'm excited for the continued education this year.
Yeah.
Speaking of trade shows, a few months ago, you got back from the SFMA. First time we used that acronym.
Absolutely.
It used to be called the STMA.
A little bit different.
A little bit different. SFMA, Sports Field Management Association. Mm-hmm. What's new? What's new out there? Especially what's new for maybe the 80% that we started the episode with. What's out there that the little leagues can get their hands on?
Sure. They're again great trade show. First of all, a lot of people. It's a big. Hey, you're still in the market, guys.
Yeah.
Right. You're still involved.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time. I'll tell you, Scott. I spent a lot of time in our booth, and probably not as much time as I would have liked to going around and seeing other equipment.
Yeah.
there's some new equipment that I'll choose not to speak about on here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, in our ABI Force booth, really happy with the amount of people that have come back over the years. I probably went 2019 was the last time I went to this show. And again, it was STMA at that point. To see the evolution of the ABI customer was really awesome this year for me. A lot of guys that were interested initially in the unit and then now own multiple units. That was probably the most promising thing for me. It was like, hey, what new attachments do we have?
Yeah.
It's not, what is this or how does this work? It's, I've got two this many hours. What can I add?
Yeah.
Right? So
we probably won't put this on air, but I heard a story from one guy out there that came in saying, hey, my starter went out. My starter went out. And the sales rep said, how many hours? He said, oh, only 13,000 hours. And he's like, well, then you're lucky. It's just the starter.
Gravy.
So they do use our machine.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's being used. I got to learn a couple good stories and this might tie into our next
Episode?
Yeah, with Leah.
Yeah.
They had a sand pro that was on the field grooming before the game, 25 minutes, and the machine went dead.
Ooh.
Everything down on the dirt. They had to literally pull the unit off of the field, all that conditioner into the grass, into the aprons. And then the ABI Force got to shine.
Yeah.
They brought it out and they had to use it for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And we're blessed to use it for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So something they had originally pitched as just their laser maintenance and laser grading machine then became their daily groomer.
Yeah.
Cool. Taylor, really appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Definitely
Taylor,
excited
thanks.
to have you back some other times, tell some more stories. Appreciate your heart, not only for the ground, but the player and the game.
For sure. You can
and that
feel
you're
it.
able to see all of that connected together, and you can see the interconnectedness between the quality of play and the excitement of play, the passion for play, and the ground that we're all playing on. So
Absolutely.
Thanks
Thank you guys
so
for
much.
having me.
Thanks for the time.
It's a pleasure.
Well, we appreciate you tracking along with us with Taylor today. It's been a lot of fun picking his brain. If you are listening to this episode, remember we have these shows available on video as well. And if you're watching, go check out your podcast. If you need to be driving or need to be running the ABI Force or a lawnmower, whatever you're working on, if you want to be listening to these conversations while you're getting your work done, check out the podcast medium as well. Excited for the time with Taylor today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Go Cubs.